It has been the longest off-season of SRA. The rust has been wiped off and the cars are revved up and ready to go. Welcome to SRA.
We're off and away for SRA.
And good evening, SRA Nation, and welcome to our Tuesday evening event. We are back here, Season 8, our Division 4, Round 5 at Misano. And welcome you guys here if you've just joined us, just getting things started. I am joined by Adam. He has not arrived just yet. He will be here with us in just a bit, and we'll make sure to bring him into the booth once he's ready to roll on his end. Driver's briefing just ended. Just gonna take a quick look here at our track map here at Misano. So let's get that switched over, get you guys in the action. Won't take too long to get the action rolling. Again, Misano, we have packed our bags over from last week's in Nürburgring in Germany. Some people maybe flew, some people drove over in Europe over to Misano. Track is just about 4.2 kilometers long, 2.6 miles in total length. Again, it's a total of 16 turns. Can be quite a bit technical on the track as far as you can see. A lot of curves that can be done as far as cutting goes, so you have to be really careful with the drive-throughs here at Misano, especially some again, if you actually take a look at turn number 8 when you exit it. Now, as far as turn number 9 and turn 10 is crucial to get good exit speed on that back straight where you go from sector 2 into sector 3. Again, I also have to be really careful. Turns number 4, 5, and 6 get that section as much as well as you can. Make sure you don't get a track cut on exit out of 6. So technical track. We'll see what the guys can do here tonight. Let's go over to the standings really quickly before we get you over to the track. There's a couple of things that switched around, so here we go. Give us just a second. And here are current standings. We have Wagner has taken the lead for the provisionary. Again, there was a couple of pending penalties and things of that sort, but Wagner does have the lead, currently 307 points. Selena Boomstra is still holding on to that P2 here on the standings, 292 points. Dudley Do-Right had a pretty good battle going on with Nick Wagner there last week at Nürburgring, 274 points. And Chris Sweeney, who has been doing really consistent throughout the season, is now in P4. White Scarver P5, and Nate Andrew P6. Mike Gino P7. Eduardo Rodriguez, race winner for Donington, P8. We have Andrew Berg P9 and DJ Watts here P10. Take a quick look again here at the back of the standings. Still some battles going on. You can see things can change quite a bit, but just give you guys a little bit of a run around. And let's move over to the team standings, and things got shuffled around a little bit after last week, after 4 rounds. We have THR Bood with Andy Berg and Chris Sweeney, now 496 points. They had a great race last week at Nürburgring. Jess Osborne and Selena Boomstra, Comic Racing and Lunar Motorsports, holding on to that P2 now. They were P1. They didn't have such a great race last week. We'll see what happens tonight. And then Red Eye X-Blend E-Racing with Jitesh Katavkar and Austin White Scarver, 371 points, a little bit behind the top 2. And we'll see where we go from there. And I believe Adam has joined us here at the booth, so I'm going to move over to our race. And welcome in, Adam. Can you hear us?
I can. How's it going? Apologize for being a little bit behind, but I think we're all set up for the most part.
Very, very good. Yep, absolutely. Thank you for joining us here tonight. But yeah, as I was mentioning, just kind of getting things going here in Misano. Drivers are just getting their little small free practice deal going on. And we're going to get started on qualifying. Again, as usual, 10 minutes for the silver drivers to get their laps through, and 10 minutes for the gold drivers to get their laps through. Adam, what do you think? What are you thinking about so far in the championship as far as, again, Dudley putting a pretty good battle going on there. I know Andrew Berg had a pretty good race last week, and Wagner has been killing in the past few races as well. What do you think? What are some of your, let's say estimation? What do you think is going to happen tonight?
Yeah, well, I think we got to definitely kind of have to look at that in two different directions. We got the individual drivers. Individual drivers versus teams. I think we got two very different outlooks on both of those. I know that, like you mentioned, Wagner and Dudley and several others are definitely looking strong for the individual. But what's more interesting, and I guess the focus of the more interesting to me, I should say, it depends on who you are, but I like focusing on the team aspect because it's almost out of your hands as an individual driver. You're just as much as you're wanting to do well yourself. You're trying to, help along your teammate and everything. And obviously, I think the two teams that stand out the most right now are Berg and Sweeney, and THR Boot, and then of course the Porsche team of Boonstra.
Yeah, they've been doing extremely well. And again, just a reminder for everybody joining us, Boonstra uses a controller, and I always like to remind people, everybody joining the stream, you don't have just real setup.
It's always impressive. That's why we always mention it. It never stops being impressive.
So just remember, every time we switch the camera over to her car, we're following somebody on a controller. Yes, and she is basically P2.
And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to keep an eye on throughout the day today, because both teams have shown a lot of speed. Berg in the practice race last night had unbelievable speed. Of course, Wagner also had great speed as well. But right up there, we saw the two Porsches, Jess and Selena, both right there together pretty much the whole race for the practice race last night. So I think they're both going to be right up there in contention for a podium today too. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that because this battle just gets better by the week.
Yeah, it seems like the two teams sort of separated themselves up top there, with basically Sweeney and Berg and Boonstra and Osborne, basically. So it seems like they've been switching back and forth for the lead for the teams. So as I mentioned, Donington wasn't the best week for the THR boot team. But whoa, as we see, Ruff is on an absolute slide here on his out lap. Just probably cooked those tires. Maybe try it again. But yes, anyways, and then last week in Nürburgring, both Sweeney and Berg had outstanding results, and not so much for, well, more specifically, Osborne had some connection issues and had to drop. But yeah, I mean, again, Misano, as I mentioned earlier, it's a track where your curbs, you can almost consider them part of the track, but just how much of the track can you consider it? I'm not sure. Well, you push a little too hard, you might be risking basically a track cut, and you know what happens after that third one. Stewards will have you come in for a little drive-through trip through the pit lane, and it's not something that you want to have in here. Misano is not necessarily a long pit lane. It's just, I'd say, more particularly the exit is just so long. It avoids that whole turns 1, 2, and 3, and he takes you right up to turn 4, and it's very interesting. You need to be careful anybody coming into the track. It can be a little bit dangerous. So we did follow Rufus there for a nice drift maneuver there before he started his qualifying lap, but he still decided to go with the same set of tires. Now let's take a look as far as the first driver that will be completing their first lap is Adams. Had a pretty good race last week in Nürburgring. He's leading that pack of silvers. He's bringing that down over now into sector 3 again. Very tricky section here. You have to be really careful with the brakes and how you manage your brakes so you can go wide, where Adams was actually okay this time around. Go through that hairpin there towards the end, you can call it. And that starts the last 2 turns here at Misano. You go a little too wide there. Don't want to invalidate your lap. Looks like he did. So he's going to be going for another try, and not too far back. We have Q Master will be the first driver putting a valid lap. We'll see what he puts his McLaren on. And a 34.935. Very good lap there for being his first official lap. And Ruffles has put his lap as well. It's a 36.205. And then Payan has put a lap as well with a 35.662. So Master with a very good lap there to start things off for the Silver folks. And as we're following Space Baker here, just give us just 1 second here, folks. We're just getting a little something set up here for the picture-in-picture. Make sure you guys get that nice view as well. So bear with us just for just a second. All right, here we go. And yes, our picture-in-picture should be ready to go now since Adam's joined us. So we'll be able to get you guys some cockpit video cams, and we'll switch over to some heli cams on the PIP for you folks watching. Trying new things every time we come around here. We try to improve our streams every week, so if you guys have any feedback, and we appreciate it, please leave it here on the chat. We're always looking for some feedback from you folks. All right, folks, as we'd be taking a ride here for Mr. Space Baker, he's currently holding that P6. So again, just taking a little lap around here and a little bit of in-cam view. We can choose different cameras for the inside, but a lot of times if we switch over to this one, for instance, you guys can see a lot of the cockpit, but not much of the track as much. Sometimes it blocks the view. You even have that sun visor, what it looks like, which not really call it sun visor, but that's the actual driver plaque that gives you, who's driving the car, but blocks the top right-hand quarter of the windshield. So we find this one to be a little bit easier to look through. As we're following Space Baker around, we're just going to keep an eye on his lap. Looks like he's not improving this time around. He crosses in, still on that P9. We're going to switch over to Mr. Otero for a bit here. He's got a little bit of an improvement coming through. He didn't have necessarily the best first lap, so it should be a little bit of improvement. We'll see if he's able to at least get that P12 and all the way maybe to P9. And crosses through. Yep, actually nails that P11 for the meantime. And other drivers, again, drivers have about 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes going on right now for their silver qualifiers. Once the gold drivers will be out on the track. Driver that's nearest through the front as far as getting a lap through. It looks like Herrera, however, he is just starting his lap, excuse me. He does not have a great lap at the moment. We're going to switch over and give a little bit of tag along with Payan, currently in P8 on the only Audi on the field as far as I know. Used to be the OP car just about a year ago. Then all of a sudden, Kunos does a few updates and it just disappears. That seems to be what Kunos does. And he's not able to improve still on that P8 for Payan. He decides to abandon the qualifying session for now. We're going to switch over to Hacksaw, excuse me. That's what I was trying to get the camera over. He's got a pretty good improvement coming through. He might be able to take that P3 from Cube Master. As he crosses line, he does. P3 for Hacksaw, so great lap from him. Great looking McLaren livery for Hacksaw, so that might be his best position, at least as far as in the meantime. So far, P3 on the silver, so great lap from him. That's impressive here at Misano. Now, Cube Master still has his lap coming through on his McLaren. He's improving, and I don't think he's very happy about losing that P3 to Hacksaw. He's on a mission to catch that back. We'll keep an eye here. He's able to get through Sector 3 cleanly enough. Made a little mistake there at the hairpin, so that might have cost him. We'll see if he's able to catch that back up here in the last turn. And let's see, very close. And crosses the line, but not able to go for that P3. But he's got one more lap going, crosses the line just over the 10-minute mark, so he's going to go for it again. You got to be careful. Go drivers will be coming out soon, but he's able to get ahead of them. Go drivers should be getting on the track very, very soon. And Adams with a, by the way, 34, 162. What a lap from him. He's able to nail that and stayed up there on top on the Porsche. And you can see the entire, well, I mean, I'm going as far as say the top 10 are all mid-engines. We see Katavkar with the best time on the BMW, so not a track that's benefiting the front engines as much.
No, definitely going to be a bit of a struggle week for them, but I think we'll see that balance out the next couple of weeks where McLarens and others have struggled a little bit. I think their time of the season is yet to come.
Yeah, clearly remember Donington. BMW is just absolutely dominating, and you know, again, different tracks, different BOP. So we'll see here. Adams just sending it way too wide there. Try to maybe improve his lap and said, I don't think that's going to happen. And said a little too wide. And Master trying to get that P3 back from Hacksaw. Gets a great exit there off the hairpin. Let's go on the little...
Yeah, still about a tenth and a half up on this lap. We'll see what we can do if we can hold that.
Gets a good exit. This might take him maybe. Oh, look at that. He does. Sends it through the P3. What a lap from him. Says Hacksaw basically had that for 2 of his laps. He's like, forget it. I'll take this back. So he did. We're going to switch over to Go drivers, as looks like Reynolds will be leading us as the Go driver starts to get their laps going. So Go division here, as you can see, there's actually quite a few more, let's say D4 Go drivers than Silver. So it's been quite competitive after the SR rating kind of kicked in place and everything was sort of adjusted for, I'd say, proper, pace level. A lot of the Go drivers have gotten quite close to one another, and they've been, it's been kind of like a, like a gamble. Sometimes some drivers are doing pretty good, and then sometimes other drivers do quite well. Even though the top drivers have been considerably about the same. Like Dudley, he's here tonight. We have Big Daddy back tonight. We have Wagner, Berg, the drivers that have been basically kept up top there for the last few races.
And something else that I've been thinking about is I wonder if so we were watching the practice race last night. I see that the pole sitter actually has a bit of a disadvantage at race start. So I wonder if we'll see a Gold driver sandbag just a little bit and shoot for P2 rather than P1.
Yeah, you have that inside line, and because of the way that the track is, it's just very interesting. It doesn't really benefit you, especially if the P2 gets a great exit, like basically a great start to get the race going, and he is able to cut in, and P1 almost has to back off. It is basically you're not on the racing line, so I don't know. I mean, maybe the strategy is P1 and just immediately start closing into the center and just don't even give him a chance to send it from the outside. That's maybe what I would do if I'm at P1 here, but. And again, drivers that put in their official first laps, we have Cockcroft there, P6, a great first lap. Gino has put a great first lap as well, right off the bat. We have Osborne, has put in his first lap as well. So drivers still coming through. White Scover has put his BMW on the standings as well, though he's not his best lap. And quite a few mid-35s again to get things going. And track temperature is about 33 degrees. It's usually that standard temperature you normally find at, I'd say, like, oh, public lobby set up at 33, 32 degrees. So nothing crazy as we saw last week. And again, it was a lot colder. We'll see what the race temperature will look like here in just over 5 minutes. And one thing I needed to point out for you guys, and I was had to clean up my liveries folder for a bit. I got a few new liveries here on track tonight. I think I've seen, I believe Maxwell, I don't think we had his livery set properly last week. It was just black, so maybe it's still a few of them missing. If you look at Berg currently holding P3, he's got an official livery design, so it's designed by yours truly here on the broadcast. I wonder who that is.
I try. Well, they'll have a livery for the last 4 races of the season, so they'll get some in.
It looks really, really good. I like the color tone, and that's currently, again, P4 for Berg as Big Daddy, by the way, put in a great lap, P3. We'll see if Berg has a hell of a lap coming through, as a matter of fact. The whole should be in P1. Yep, he does. Sends it right to P1 with a 34-100, so he's not here to mess around. He had a great practice qualifying last night. He had a really, really good lap coming through. Race, he wasn't so lucky. There were some incidents ahead of him he had to try to avoid, and things didn't go his way. We're currently holding that provisionary P1. Big Daddy on his Porsche coming to. He's not messing around. One thing to point out as well, let's move over to Sweeney, Berg's teammate, with a different livery set. As you can see, different color tone. Looks really, really nice. It's got that Nevada, travelnevada.com, folks. It's got that Death Valley setup. That's what Adam was going for. It looks really good. Depending on how the weather looks like in ACC, or sometimes you have a lot of sun and you have different color tones. When it's in the shade, it's like a little bit different, but looks really, really nice. Slides a little bit out of that turn. Still able to keep.
Definitely giving all he's got there, and meantime, we saw Harold put in a great time. Puts him up to P5 from was P14 before, I believe. He gained half a second on that lap.
And Maxwell, by the way, also doing great on his Ferraris. In P4, we see Maxwell be really, really fast. As Gino takes that and sends himself to P4, Maxwell down to P5. Switch over quickly to Berg. He's able to improve on his pole lap right now, 34.015, so very close to the 33s. And looking to switch over to Maxwell here really quickly. He's going to go for the last turn. He's improving on his delta. He might actually take that, might send himself up to P3 here. Comes through, yep, P3 for Maxwell, so he's right back at it. Other improvement we have going on at the moment, we have Wagner going through the last turn. He's actually did really well at the practice race last night. Oh, gets a little loose there out of the last turn. So
he's going to lose most of his
gains.
Most of his time he had gained there.
And
see a couple more big laps. Got, as you mentioned before, Big Daddy's on a heater right now. Poe's actually on quite a good lap too, about a 10th and a half up.
Yep, both these drivers have been flying here in Misano. Daddy is just on a mission. We didn't see him last week, but oh man, he's back. So
back in a big way, and he's definitely got the right car for the track as well. We're going to see a pretty McLaren and Porsche dominated day. Obviously, you can tell by your standings board, with the one exception being that lone Ferrari up top with Maxwell, definitely making up for lost time there.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of a cockpit drive here with Big Daddy and Do-Right. We hadn't seen him. Sends it right to the pole, and Berg takes it back.
Immediately takes it back.
So Dudley got happy for about 2 seconds, and then Berg is like, nope, no you didn't, and sends it right back. And Dudley also had a pretty good qualifying session. Yes, he had a good session yesterday, although not as good as he's doing now, so he is not messing around for the race. So
I definitely think he's put in some laps since yesterday, and that's key for this track. This track has such a rhythm to it, and definitely requires such a knowledge as far as your track limits goes. I think that's going to be the name of the day, knowing what you can and can't cut, and how your car is going to react. Because so many of these turns, you're just eating as much curb as possible to get the car to turn, and also just obviously take the shorter way around the track. But the people who know that the best are obviously going to do well, and we're definitely seeing a show here as Dudley puts a far better lap than he did in qualifying last night. 2 drivers in the 33s. I honestly didn't expect that. And Big Daddy has the potential. He's up this lap, and he's only a tenth away from being in the 33s as well. I mean, these are D2 times. This is really interesting to see out of these guys. Some very, very quick guys. You can tell who's put in the work this week for sure.
But it looks like Dudley, who was out a massive lap coming through, might take it. Oh, I think he lost a little bit there at the end, and
he still has a 10th. It'll be close.
It'll be close, but not enough. No cigar.
600ths off.
Oh my goodness. So, and then Berg comes through, and based on the current standings, I'm gonna switch over to Andrew here, crossing the line. Should we had a few positions. He crosses. Nope, he does not. At the end, he's not able to get any better than that. So Gino is the last driver on track, along with Harold, P10. But Harold with a pretty good of a lap, a little bit of an improvement coming through here. We'll see what he's able to accomplish. And P10 sends Rodriguez to P10, gets a P9. And
very nice.
Nice there at the end. Wow.
Good to talk about Harold. We haven't seen him up front more, and we know he's definitely got the talent and has potential to be up here. So we'll see what he's got for us this week. Sorry.
Yeah, and a few drivers still out on track. Yes. Both Gino and Whitescarver improving on their times. They should be moving some positions if they're able to keep that up. And Gino, then P6 at the moment at his current pace. He might actually send him right over to P3. We'll see. Keep an eye on his McLaren.
He was 4/10 up for a second there. I thought he was going to be a pole threat.
He went really late on the brakes and said, I'll catch up again.
Lost just a little bit of time there. He lost about a 10th off the final corner.
Here he comes.
Still picks up almost 2 tenths.
P3, P4.
Oh
my goodness.
Just off it.
100th of a
1/100th.
Wow, a great lap for him though at the end there. This is going to be a battle, that's for sure. And that's qualifying, folks. From the looks of it, that's all we have. Berg with that pole lap. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing switched over to do a little bit of our circuit walk and take a look at the drivers. So give us a second as we get the camera rolling. Let's switch over to our pole sitter, Andrew Berg. That's his first pole here at SRA. So he said he's been practicing the heck out of for Misano, so he's not kidding around.
Absolutely. I believe he told me something around, 250 laps? Ridiculous amount of laps around this track. He's been just giving it everything he's got for this weekend, trying to pull out a win here.
And that was yesterday. I don't know how many laps he put today.
Oh, yeah, probably more if I had to guess.
And here we go. So Dudley, great lap for him. Let's back up a little bit here. We have Dudley on your right. We have Big Daddy comes strong here. Gino. We have Adams, who had a great lap to start things off. There at Maxwell, we have Sadat. Poe. We have Harold, and then we have Rodriguez and Wagner. We didn't have his best qualifying session, but he actually did really well in the race at the practice last night, so we'll see if he's able to do. And Drew, we have Cockcroft, Osborne, we have Q-Master, Hacksaw, Whitescarver, Boomstra, Sweeney, Barker, Daniels, Reynolds, Morrison, Rodriguez, Payan, Ruffus, Space Baker, Walkowicz, Katavakar, Friday, Otero, Herrera, and Laflamme. And I believe, if not correct if I'm wrong, I'll switch this back over to our. Let's go more of on a heli view here. I believe we had somebody that did not put a qualifying lap. That could have been maybe to a penalty, but Grover on his Lamborghini, he's currently at the pit. It might be a pit start for him. Again, penalties have not been officialized from last week, so standings might change a little bit. But yes, that is Misano, folks. We got just about 30 seconds to go. Berg will be leading us through our formation lap. And we'll get things rolling here at Misano. And for you guys just joining us, again, thank you for tuning in. If you guys are here, appreciate it. We do this every week at the same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And again, as I mentioned, if you guys have any advice, or please let us know here on the chat. Anything, if everything sounds good, got volume going on, everything's okay, camera angles, let us know in the chat. We'll switch it around. Any particular driver you want us to follow through a few times here, cockpit view, heli, you name it, we'll try to get things going for you guys here.
As we roll off for our pace lap. Definitely one of the things to work on, or to keep an eye out, is that turn one. It's going to be really interesting because the driver who qualifies pole actually will be starting on the right-hand side, of course, and that's going to put them at a bit of a disadvantage as they come through this section here. Through turn one, they're going to have to take that really shallow, which is going to compromise the exit, and it's really easy for whoever's starting P2 to keep even with them through turn one, and then obviously get the inside advantage in turn two and complete that pass for the lead, as we've seen in a couple of practice races already. So maybe sending it a little bit deep, just absolutely giving it all you got into turn one as the pole sitter is going to be essential. And I can imagine Berg, after having that happen to him last night, probably practiced that a little bit and has a plan for the start, but we'll see if it works out for him, if he has a plan for something different to do to hold off Dudley, because Dudley's going to be quick.
We know Dudley's gonna attempt take that lead from Berg right off the bat. As a matter of fact, Berg did have the pole at the practice session last night, so he said, I'm not gonna make the mistake again. I'm gonna redo this start one more time and try to hold on to that P1. But yeah, like you said, you're right. It's just a very interesting sector, turns 1, 2, and 3, because you already kind of lose the advantage on turn 1, and then turn 2, if you P2 basically got a good start, you already have the inside line, so you almost send the P1 wide, and then you obviously don't want to get into an incident at that point, so you tend to just kind of back off. So you just need to be really right on top of that gas. The thing that when that light goes green, you got to be on top of it. Now, it is McLaren, so 2 McLarens at the front, so Big Daddy Porsche, don't count him out back there. But we'll see what happens as they about to go through Sector 3 and we get things rolling here. And just a reminder, we do have a pit window pretty much for the entire race. It will open up to, somewhere during lap 1, and we'll see which drivers decide to pit. Take a quick look there at your picture-in-picture. We do have our lights currently with the red, and we'll soon go green, and we'll know what happens when that goes. It's race on, folks. And Andy Berg there with a pretty good little bit of a lead over Dudley at the start. We'll see how he goes in. We're green, folks. Green. And Andrew Berg is already letting know. You can see there once again, Dudley super late on the brakes. And we talked about this and just took advantage of that start, but Berg just not giving that up very easily. Dudley super wide there on turn, but you called it, Adam. This is one of those starts that maybe a P2 might be more interesting for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's so hard as a leader to defend there. There's really not a whole lot he can do. I mean, he can try to maybe fake Dudley or something to make him think he's going to go wide, but not. But at that point, you're putting yourself at risk, and it might be better in the long run just to settle in at P2, get your rhythm, and put in the lap times that we know he's capable of.
Yeah, and it's almost as a P1, you just don't want to lay brake and basically be late on the brakes yourself because you risk absolutely taking P2 out if they send it deep. So you just have to take the careful approach. Now, these two were pretty even as far as qualifying goes, so this is going to be a little bit of a battle going on there between these two, and then Big Daddy not too far back for their P3. So just to also give you guys a little update, looks like a few drivers were involved in a little incident. It looks like Osborne was part of it, and he has dropped down quite a few positions, and Reynolds and Daniels and Katavakar. So they fell quite a bit. We didn't catch it on the stream, but not sure there what happened with Jess. And both drivers at the front decide not to pit in, and you can see Berg just losing that P1, but not giving Dudley any break whatsoever. We'll keep an eye on this battle. Drivers are still kind of getting comfortable. These two on the top have opened up a little bit of a lead. And Rodriguez looks like he's gone off, and oh my goodness. So a couple of lap one here, lap two, they're kind of, looks like drivers getting a little bit happy a little bit, but Rodriguez dropped quite a few positions. It's down to P17. He was in P10.
Yeah, not the only Porsche with issues. We saw saw a couple of them having some problems, dropping some spots early. Rodriguez probably losing the most right off the start, as we see a couple more also getting forward through the field. We saw Jess Osborne qualify down the field quite a ways, but already making up a couple spots there.
No, great move as Morrison sends it on the inside of Rodriguez. Now P19 for Rodriguez. So Rodriguez not having the best start. And Morrison with his Batman livery. That's something that I hadn't seen before, so a little update for you guys.
Yeah, hopefully Rodriguez can get this figured out. Just not very quick on the first lap. I don't know if he got some aero damage or something at some point, but just kind of felt like a rock, and eventually was slow enough to the point where he pretty much got run over, and of course unfortunate. But we've seen Rodriguez have some big speed, and obviously has one win already this year. So we'll see if he can rebound from this. So he's gonna dive into the pits now. Might answer our question of whether he had some damage.
We'll see. And by the way, Big Daddy, again, who is not battling anybody at the moment, puts in the fastest lap at a 35.772. And while Dudley, P1, and Berg in P2, a little bit of battling going on, is costing them sometimes, so that Big Daddy might catch up. And now, however, behind Big Daddy, Maxwell, Adams, there's a whole train of them. So
Maxwell's on the hunt. He was right in front of Adams, but now he's definitely pulled away from Adams, and he's right on the back. I believe Big Daddy's Adams' teammate, so both of them doing really well today.
Yeah, they've got their Porsches up there on top, just Maxwell in between them too. And Rodriguez looks like it was just a, from the looks of it, let's take a look over here as far as pit strategy. It's about 7 seconds. So doesn't look like he decided to fix anything if he had anything to fix, but he's right back on track. Yep. And let's take a quick look again. Maxwell, who's following Big Daddy. Absolute. Let's go ahead and with an interior. Let's switch over to this interior cam here on the Ferrari. Not necessarily a here we go. That's a better picture. As we go, and Maxwell again was doing quite well last week at Nürburgring, and just had running some issues, and now he's absolutely flying there behind Big Daddy, and Big Daddy has to worry about that Ferrari. Easier on the brakes, don't want to risk taking anybody out, but also trying to plan an attack.
And you know what's so intimidating about that Ferrari? The front end just gets pointed so well that they can send it so far into the corners. It's just intimidating as the lead driver as he gets a nose inside but backs out, because I don't think Big Daddy quite knew he was there. That would have been probably a poor choice to stick it in there right then, but he obviously makes a smart move and backs out of it just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's just something about that car. It gets pointed so well on entry into the corners and under braking. Under braking, it's got tons of grip to be able to turn as you're braking. and it's just intimidating as that lead driver, I've found.
Yeah, and he's made a little bit of, got a little loose back there, and now he's got to worry about, he does have Adams, Gino, Sadat, and Wagner, who's moved up quite a few spots so far as a train. And that gives Big Daddy a little bit of a breather.
A great day for Mike Gino so far, too.
Yeah, Gino holding on to that P6 at the moment. He
more than holding on. I think he's going to be out on the attack here in a second.
We'll see what happens. He actually dropped 2 spots, by the way. Maxwell moved up 2. Gino dropped 2, but he's had a great qualifying session. He's still holding on, keeping his McLaren there up top. There's a whole row of McLarens from P6 through P11. All McLarens. And then the top 2, Dudley and Berg. Basically McLaren, so. And let's go ahead and follow Gino a bit here as he's following Adams, who's following Maxwell. You can see he's trying to find a little bit of a way around. Again, not the best sector to attempt anything here as they go really slow. Try to cut on that curb as much as you can. It looks like Adams has a better exit speed.
It's that Porsche power.
Yeah, every time out of slow corners, see that Porsche just goes, see you later, alligator. He's gone. Look at that. And you mentioned there with the Ferrari, it's almost sometimes you're following on a cockpit cam there with Maxwell earlier, and you can see that the front end just kind of points it. It's almost robotic to an extent. It's just kind of like, oh, I wanted to point it here, and the car just goes.
The way I look, it feels like a prototype. I used to run prototypes occasionally on R Factor too, and the front end is so just does whatever you want. You say, hey, you want to point this direction? Sure, we got it. We don't have to worry about if we have enough grip or not. It always seems to have enough grip to point the front wherever you want, which just makes that car so flexible. It's one of those. I think it shares that with the Audi a bit. It's balanced no matter where you go. It seems it's always a comfortable car.
And by the way, Wagner as in P7 now, as Andrew looks like is falling down positions. Looks like there was an incident for Andrew there on P. Oh my goodness!
Oh, see Gino cut the grass. Oh.
He's able to keep things together, but loses the position to Wagner, who's moving his way up. So look at that. Not necessarily
Great
the best
save there
move.
by Gino. Adams being on his outside saved him there, because I think he would have snapped around. The car would have snapped around the other direction if the back end hadn't just barely tapped Adams. I think it kept him in line.
And Sadat almost took advantage of the whole thing too. So Wagner just cleared everybody. Said, "All right, well, you guys can go for it. Let's switch to Wagner for a bit." He's been on a tear, as he's actually moved up a total of 5 spots. So qualifying was not his best. He's the seat. By the way, if you just joined us, Wagner is the current standings leader for the Gold drivers. Trying to find a way around Adams. Has a good speed, but that Porsche. Let's go ahead and switch this over. You can see that McLaren just glued on the back of that Porsche now that they're going at top speeds. Look at Wagner trying to maybe
pulls the inside.
Oh my goodness, trying to go and bait him a little bit, but
he's got he slid wide, gives him the spot. He's there.
He's there. He's made it. He basically baited Adams into basically be careful, and then Wagner's like, I got this, so send him up all the way to P5, just climbing the standings.
A little bit of mental games there. We saw Wagner did back off there. Like, he wasn't going to stick his nose in there, but you can tell he got right back on the gas once he started pushing wide. Once Adam started pushing wide on the outside, he just took advantage of that. Worked out.
And you can see he's opened up a little bit. Oh, there's an incident. Looks like somebody out there, Daddy.
Maxwell and Big Daddy.
Oh my goodness, what happened? And let's see if we can catch that on replay really quickly. Oh, excuse me, I'm got the wrong driver. It looks like that. Oh, they didn't quite catch
Maxwell
it on the
back
dot,
to
but
the pits.
that might have been an incident between the two. I'm gonna actually go ahead and switch. Let's go back further on this, folks. I want to see exactly what happened. So give me just a second. And it looks like Daddy just got into Maxwell. Again, got there towards the end, but Maxwell had taken the position from Daddy as he was climbing up, and Daddy just looks like he's actually waiting for Maxwell to get back on track. But Maxwell is just stopped And looks like he has gone to the pits. So, oh man, you see that Daddy just decided to keep on going, but looks like that might have been a little bit late on the brakes for Daddy, which ended up, oh man, you hate to see that, especially for the top drivers.
And you know what else people don't like to see, or at least Dudley Do-Right doesn't like to see? The Andrew Berg number 976 machine getting bigger in that rear view mirror.
He's closed the gap a little bit, just a half a second. And they've been kind of just trading fast laps here and there. Previous laps just crossing out Berg with a 35.270 and Do-Right with a 35.267. So identical times if you really want to put into those terms. So they're basically cloning each other. But again, Andy Berg there with the advantage of maybe getting also in the draft and pulling himself closer to Dudley as he's getting now.
I'll tell you what, it's just awesome to watch these drivers. You can tell they put in the practice. You see they use every millimeter of curb that they know they can use, that they're not going to get penalized for. And of course, that's going to be something to keep an eye on for everyone throughout the race, is potential drive-throughs, because to be quick here, you have to use those curbs. You have to use as much of that runoff area and as much of that inside curbing as you can possibly manage without getting penalized for it, in order to be fast.
And we are going in a little bit of a wing cam here with Dudley. And you can see the drivers taking different lines. As you can see, Dudley goes deep into the turn where Berg goes a little bit on the inner end of the turn. But again, they keep within the same distance, just that half a second. And neither of these drivers decided to pit, so we'll see what happens.
Berg seems to maximize his entry a little better, but as far as getting as deep as possible in the brake zones, but Dudley gets it turned and seems to fire it straighter off the exits, which I think definitely helps him on the straights. As we see, he pulls out, walks away from Andy just a little bit again.
And one thing to note is that incident between Big Daddy and Maxwell has sent Wagner to P3. So 8 positions gained so far. That is absolutely insane. And he's just about 6.5 seconds from the leaders. And because of the leader battle going on now, Wagner might be closing in and make this a three-car battle. And basically, well, give it or take a few laps. So we'll see what happens.
It's still early. We're only 14 minutes in, and he was 0.2 quicker than the leaders last lap.
I'll switch over to Adams there, currently P4. As you can see, Wagner has opened up a little bit of a lead, but Adams has a train behind his guy Gino, Sadat, Poe, and Cockcroft. They're just everybody following together. So Adams just kind of leading this little train, and currently in P10 also Hacksaw had a great qualifying session. He's following very close by Sweeney, who has actually moved up 7 spots so far. Another driver who's benefited from incidents and such. And Sweeney has been extremely consistent throughout the season. That's why he's pretty much up there on top of the standings. And P3. And it's not getting, well, it doesn't help if you get P1, and then you lose, or you end up at the back of the field in a few races. There goes all your work, and Sweeney's able to constantly keep it within the top 10, so to speak. So.
Looking at the chat, Riggs says, "You think a McLaren's going to win this?" I'd say if there was betting on sim racing, that'd be a safe bet.
I would say yes. I mean, up until a little bit earlier when Big Daddy was kind of hovering there at the top, unfortunately got involved in an incident with Maxwell. But yeah, I mean, unless Adams can do a little bit of a miracle there on his Porsche. It looks like it's going to be a McLaren. Oh, this is between McLaren and Porsches. They're all the way to P13. That's all we see, by the way. And then Barker is P14 with a BMW. So, you know what, Martin? We're going to go ahead and give you, it's going to be a 50-50 chance a Porsche or a McLaren wins. How's that? Let's switch over to Cockcroft here and that little train going on there for basically, well, a P5. Excuse me, P4 all the way to P4, but Cockcroft on full attack. Let's go ahead and take a little ride on his Porsche as he is following Poe.
Yeah, I actually got alongside Poe right there through the first couple corners, but Poe able to defend pretty well, and Cockcroft slid just a little bit wide before the back straight, and it cost him the exit speed. But we'll see if he can close in on the slow corners here where his Porsche really shines.
Just trying to get that inside and just trying to get that exit speed here on Sector 3, but Poe with a great move and basically great exit speed himself.
Gains a little bit, but I think he's really going to gain more through the first sector. It's where he was really strong the last couple laps, as I've been keeping an eye on that.
Well, all these drivers from P4 through basically P8 have been basically practically almost identical lap times. So unless one of them pits or not, this is going to go on for quite a long time.
Well, don't look now, but we got a new fastest lap of the race.
And Wagner, again, we talked about he did not have the best qualifying session, but 34,482, that is absolutely
nearly a second faster than the leaders.
He's already 2 seconds up. It was 6.5 seconds of 2 laps ago. He's 4.8, 4.7-ish or so. So he's going to be joining that battle for P1 very soon, folks.
And if you'll switch over to the wing camera on Cockcroft's car, you'll see another Porsche coming into the picture that always seems to end up in the conversation.
Oh, I wonder who that is. It's Selena, just kind of, casually pulling her Porsche there in P9 at the moment. Nothing fancy at all, but just consistent and, again, also earning some big points so far.
Absolutely. Started out P17, already in the top 10, making big moves early.
Let's switch over to Hacksaw just behind her as Sweeney is getting really close, trying to go for that. Basically, top 10. He's sitting just one position shy from that top 10. We're going to take a little bit of a ride with Sweeney, see what his McLaren has been up to. It is a battle between McLarens. Just to give you guys an update, you see there Barker P15 drive-through. You hate to see that, but BMW, who is not having the greatest race here at Misano. Again, not a track that benefits the BMWs as much, or I'd say front-end cars. Is barely see any here tonight, so... And you can see that short shift up to second there. Make sure you get your grip going. Get a little squiggly there on the curb, but he's keeping it together.
Very easy to do. I was putting in a few laps, probably 20 laps or so, just as research, as I've been trying to do every week and try to improve myself at the same time. But I'm trying to put in a few laps just so I know a little bit of what might be going through these drivers' minds and their approaches to this race and how to be fast. Helps get in the mindset a little bit. But it's definitely one of the things that is a bit of a handful to manage is eating all these curbs and trying to stay stable while you're on the power. So you're going over these curbs, which are unsettling the car, but you're also trying to put power down at the same time, which definitely can prove to be a challenge, especially in the McLaren with a little bit of a turbo lag once you start getting in the mid RPM range.
And as you were mentioning all that, Sadat, Poe, Cockcroft just got absolutely almost like a 3 wide through the back straight. They were able to keep it together, but that was kind of scary to watch. Sadat still coming out on the top as Poe, but then now you see Selena catching up because of that whole battle that's going on. And soon Hacksaw and Sweeney will be joining in on this whole ordeal we got going on. You can see there everybody just kind of bunched up. Let's go to the wind cam on Sadat here. If he's able to see his rear view mirror, that's what he's seeing. He's seeing a little line of cars going on back there, and he's holding them on. And Gino not too far ahead, by the way, just about 2 seconds. He was actually glued to Adams for that P4.
Yeah, not much to change that. Still really on the attack in Adams, but Adams doing a great job defending so far. Ooh, a little shy in the braking zone there for Sadat. Gains Poe gained a little bit, but then Poe got a big wiggle off and lost the gains that he made up there for a second.
It's almost like he planned this and he just completely opened up. Oh my goodness, you can see again that same sector from previous lap, and you have Poe and just a major battle going on there for basically that P6.
Ooh, speaking of battle, that Porsche we mentioned earlier, she's getting right up in this pretty soon here.
Yep. Yeah, it's like I said, this is creating a little bit of a train as they're battling for positions. The groups in the back is just catching up. And both Hacksaw and Sweeney put their fastest laps just now. Well, previous laps, so they're catching up to this group.
As we mentioned before, Wagner still having amazing pace. I see consistently that his times, his last lap times, highlighted in purple. He's still gaining time in the leaders. Not quite as much, still about 4.5 seconds, 4.4, somewhere in there, but still making up time slowly but surely. And depending on how the pit cycles go, the picture for the lead could change quite easily.
Maybe the leaders saw, like, oh, who is this Wagner coming through in P3, and they saw the delta closing. It's like, maybe we should just kind of take it easy a bit and let he's gonna catch us. So
and as we're riding on board here, looking at this battle, as we see Cockcroft dive to the inside, can't quite get it done. We're going to keep the lead battle in the picture for you, as Berg is right on the bumper of Do Right.
He is, and you can see Cockcroft on the outside trying to find a way around Poe, but Poe is making his McLaren as big as the track, the entire track, so he's just making, it's like, there is no room for you here, buddy. There is no room, not here. And it looks like Cockcroft has gone into the pits, so that kind of breaks up that little train a little bit. We'll see what happens when the other drivers do. We're going to go on a little bit of an outside cam. It looks like there. Check out the picture-in-picture, folks. That is a battle for P1 as Dudley and Berg are going at it. And a Big Daddy, again, looks like another yellow flag. Let's take a look and see what's going on. And it looks like he went deep on the brakes there with Q Master, ended up tapping him, and that also affected Morrison, but looks like he was okay. Morrison, not much of damage, but again, another tap there. Looks like Daddy a little too late on the brakes. And he's doing the right thing. Looks like he did make a mistake. Let Q Master catch up and give the position back. Morrison has cleared both of them because of that one mistake. He's going to give it a try again. Now, they have not yet completed their mandatory pit stops, so they'll still need to do another stop. I know Big Daddy. No. Oh, man, you hate to see that. Looks like Berg is in the pits.
Speaking of pit stops, Berg's going to send it in there. He can't quite seem to get by Dudley, so hey, if you can't get by him, see if you can leapfrog him in the pits.
Keep an eye on that pit strategy and pit stop time for Berg. Wagner has jumped to P2 provisionally. Now he's on the hunt for Dudley. Looks like he nailed it. Looks like pit stop for Berg, 5 seconds on the dot. So he's got that down. He's not here to kid around, so Dudley better get his pit stop correct. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. As Big Daddy, they're trying to send on the inside, as they're going to be coming right a little bit ahead of Andy Berg, who's coming out of the pits just now. And Big Daddy looks like he's finally found his way around Q Master. Q Master maybe just says, you know what, you can go. It won't be battling at this pace.
No issues there on pit exit for Berg. Gets out in clean air, and he's going to have the opportunity to hot lap for a few laps here. Possibly make up the time he needs to pass Dudley.
Yeah, he does have quite a bit of clean air. Switching back to that, still this battle there between the basically P5, 6, and then Boonstra now P7. We have Hacksaw there in P8, and So and switch this over a little bit on this, bro. Oh, perfect timing. Switching over to this wing view for just a second, you saw Poe's McLaren just grow on the back of Sadat's, and it's a battle of McLaren. So this is, it's so tough to try to overtake a car of the same specs, even though you might have different setup. It's just, especially here in Misano, not many overtaking opportunities. The straights just aren't long enough. As you can see, oh my goodness, on the inside. Looks like a little bit of a bump between the two. We have Selena Boonstra almost tapping Poe because of the whole ordeal. Oh boy. Now Boonstra all over the back of Poe. And now on the side. You know who we don't see on this battle anymore is Sweeney. He decided to pit. He's like, I'm out of here. He's already got his pit strategy out of the way. He's gone into the pits, and he's already out and free and clear. Let's go a little bit of an in view with Selena's Porsche. You can see that exit speed. Trying to catch up to Poe, but Poe had a great exit out onto the back straight. Now she does have Hacksaw right behind her, so very close here leading into this.
Yeah, it's moments like these you want to get the move for that position done as quick as possible, as we see Poe go just a little bit wide.
I can't help but to laugh at how consistent can you be with a controller. I just have to mention
the answer is very, because she's up here every week.
It is just something else. Unbelievable. Oh man, I don't think I could make one turn on a controller. And then she's got to worry about Hacksaw and Poe right ahead, and again, not too far ahead. You can see Sadat as they're kind of becoming a little bit of a group again, as they were. And Poe might have better pace, but he's just not able to find a way around Sadat, and Sadat doing great defense. Let's go here in cam with Selena's Porsche, and Hacksaw fell a little bit behind. She goes deep on the brakes, but then make sure it does not get anywhere near. Well, it's pretty close to Poe's McLaren, but cost her a few tenths there, and Hacksaw closing in again. Give you guys a little bit of an aerial view of what's going on for this battle for P5. And by the way, oh, looks like Do-Right, an issue with Do-Right. Wagner has taken the lead. Let's take a look at the replay. And what happened here? As Wagner is extremely close. He already gotten super near him, and Wagner, oh my goodness. Do-Right completely missed his brake marker. Went totally wide. Wagner says, I'll take P1, why not? And he's moved up from P11 to P1. And a couple of mistakes here and there, but wow, what a drive from him so far. And maybe Do-Right with some issues. Yeah, he is a couple drivers out of the way there. Looks like that's Dudley's teammate. And now Wagner with the lead. Wow. So his first mistake, I didn't see that happen very often. That's not something Dudley does, but
yeah, and it doesn't take much here. It's such a fast track, and each corner sequence leads right into the next. So one mistake can really cost you big like that.
Yeah, and that back straight sector is exactly where Dudley made his mistake. You have to be so careful when it brakes too. If you push a little too much, and then you can basically lose the car. And unfortunately, he almost went straight. Good thing nothing happened to his car. He just went wide, and quite a lot of there's not, again, no grass out there. He was able to kind of keep the car straight and just right back into the track he was. So that's good. Good news for him.
Yeah, now it's going to be a matter of just getting refocused, let your tires cool just a little bit, and then go back on attack.
And I shall switch this back over to the Sadat situation here with Poe. And we have Poe, Boonstra, and Hacksaw. And not too far ahead again, we have Gino and Adams. And you know Poe, this is a situation where if I'm in Poe, and it looks like he might have a little bit better pace than Sadat at this point. He does have a faster, not necessarily the faster lap, but he has been lapping faster than Sadat has, and I might consider taking a pit here, maybe to get, possibly to an undercut, but he chooses to stay out.
Yeah, that might save him for potentially losing spots because he keeps having. I notice every lap he has to brake a little bit too hard to stay off the rear of Sadat, and every time he does that, he loses enough to where Boonstra's right there. So I think it might be a good time to pit as we see Boonstra look inside. It's going to get alongside here. She's going to have the advantage. See if Poe can hold on. Poe's going to hold on the inside. That'll give him the advantage down the straight as Boonstra goes a little bit wide.
And look at Hacksaw. Hacksaw is taking advantages that might have cost her the position. Walkowicz says, I'm out of here. I'm not getting in the front. Look at Boonstra trying to go on the inside and a switchback on the next corner. Oh my goodness.
Heads up driving by Walkowicz there to stay out of the way as these cars are coming through.
Walkowicz saw a train of cars altogether. He's like, I am out of here. So just for one straight, Hacksaw had a position on Boonstra. And Boonstra says, now I'll take that back as Hacksaw went a little too deep on the brakes. So,
well, you know what's come of all this? Sadat has nothing to worry about now.
Yeah, just
he's
for
free
how
and
long?
clear for the moment. That actually has freed him up. He's closing in on Adams pretty quickly.
And Adams, yeah, they're catching. The group is catching Adams. And oh my goodness, this has been quite a roller coaster here so far, folks. These guys are putting a show today. We find battles everywhere.
Picture in picture, we got Cube Master facing the wrong way on track and staying right in the racing line for some reason.
Let's take a look and see what happened. Looks like he might have spun. Caught him right at the end, but he's just waiting to get back on track. But oh my goodness, this car is just literally in the middle of the track. Oh my goodness, that battle going on there. And somebody took that. Looks like somebody took a board out as I was looking at the picture in picture. There's a little bit of a tap between two drivers back there, but Master into the pit he goes. And we're switching this back up to this now who looks like will be Gino, Adams, Sadat, and Poe. And then Boonstra just about a second and a half behind in Hacksaw. And while this unfolds a bit, let's take a look at just a quick pass through the back of the field for just a bit and see what's happening out here. We have Cockcroft currently in that P20. And remember, he decided to pit, so when things get kind of, everybody pits, get all worked out, we'll see if he's able to maybe gain a few positions by an undercut. He is followed closely by Whites, Carver, and Rodriguez, who have already pit. So this might get really interesting later on as a major group of cars come out together. And back here towards the field, we do have Friday on his Audi, so another Audi on the field, and Payan with another Audi as well. And not too far back, we have Daniels, Space Baker, and Walkowicz, who got the heck out of the way from that battle ahead of him. And we do have Roger Rodriguez. Oh, and a little too wide there, we caught him. But he's got nothing to worry about. Back on track he goes. And one person notable to note here so far, Grover. Remember, he started from the pits with his Lamborghini. He has yet to pit, but I mean, so far it's considered a pretty good race. The fact you start from the pits. He does have Barker not too far back, and ahead of them we have Sweeney, who is currently P15, has already taken care of his pit strategy. Does have Harold following closely behind there. We have Otero and Katavakar, who have yet to pit, so that will give some positions over to Sweeney. A few of the folks have already pit behind them. LaFlamme in P12, and we have Osborne again. We had that weird incident. We didn't catch on the cameras, and we're following the front of the field, but he's currently in P11. He has yet to pit, but at least he's back up quite a few spots considering what happened earlier. So, and just ahead of him, we have what you would consider, if you were to consider incidents and such, as we saw Dudley go off a bit, and that would be your provisionary leader, Andrew Berg, because that mistake would have given Berg that lead, but then very close, followed by Wagner. So those guys up there at the top just battling, and we'll see what happens when when Wagner and Dudley pit. We'll see what the outcome is. as Selena has gone to the pits, P8. So she's out of that train.
And to mention that, looking at the last few laps, it looks like Wagner and Berg have had nearly identical laps. So it's going to be really interesting to see how well Wagner gets into his pits and hopefully doesn't lose any time on pit entry. This is a little bit of a different pit entry. You got you have to slow down for the left-hand turn on entry, but then you're speeding up a little bit to try to maximize your in and out time before you get down onto the pit limiter. So after you slow for the left-hander, you're speeding back up before then you're slamming on the brakes again to get down to pit speed. So maximizing that little short acceleration period there is pretty crucial as we see Poe take position over Sadat a little farther up the field.
He finally makes it through.
Finally got it done. We saw a big wiggle out of Sadat, and Poe took advantage on the straight.
He finally made it through, and that was, I'd say that battle was going on for the entire race. So that's literally 37 minutes in. He's able to make his way through as neither driver decided to pit. It's like, no, we're deciding this on the track. And Poe makes it through, and now he does have Adams ahead of him, and he does have quite a bit of pace. One thing to mention, by the way, and I was going to bring that up earlier, Big Daddy, who had those incidents earlier, he hasn't yet pit, and Berg seems to be stuck behind him. For the meantime, Berg is pacing better. I mean, it's a faster pace, but Big Daddy, again, has every right to defend, even though he hasn't yet pitted, but it is costing Berg some time there, so that might benefit Wagner and Dudley at the top.
Yeah, Berg's last lap was a 36.5, so this is definitely cost him being hung up behind that Porsche. And just for contrast, Wagner, still your leader, ran a 35.5, so that's a full second loss per lap at the moment until he can get around Big Daddy in that 54 Porsche.
And Wagner's just dead on focus right now. He's opened up a 3-second gap from Dudley. And looks like Dudley may be making a few mistakes there as he's trying to get, the most out of the track, but again, getting too close for possibly a track cut. Again, got to be careful. We haven't seen any drive-throughs to the track cuts here, which is a good thing. It is a track that's obviously something you normally see, but these D4 drivers here put in a class so far. No major issues between these guys. They've been kept within the track limits. So, and oh my goodness, look at Poe trying to scare Adams there on the turn 2, and that gives Sadat some running, and this might switch back, and Poe says, oh no, I don't want to get behind you again, and sticks it on the inside there, takes the inside line. Adams just sort of I'm not backing down from this. As looks like Hacksaw is in the pits, by the way. And looks like Berg has finally made his way around Big Daddy. Let's take a look at the replay exactly how that went down. And maybe just
side by side through 1, 2, and 3, and finally he got enough of a turn in for turn 4 here that he just barely cleared him.
And back on track he goes. Interesting scenario. So on the replay, Berg's livery switched over to the in-game version of it for some odd reason. But yet here on the live feed we see his full livery, so maybe an ACC glitch we just saw. But that was Berg over Big Daddy. So I've never seen that one before. That was interesting. So he's able to get around Big Daddy. Big Daddy again not putting his foot down. He is hunting down for positions, trying to gain maybe the time lost from a couple incidents earlier.
Yeah, not going to let it go easily, but I can see Berg already putting a substantial gap, and you can see Big Daddy just barely hanging on to the toe there.
I think those
straights.
Big Daddy again might have some, whether I would say it could be maybe aero damage or affecting his top speed due to the previous bumps and such, and that can affect it. So Sadat is in the pits. by the way. Let's see what happens with his pit. Looks like he's spending a little extra time, and no, he does 5 seconds flat. 6. It's an extra second there, but a great pit stop from him. We'll see what happens when he's the battle with Poe comes out. When Poe goes into pits, we'll see what happens then. I think Sadat just said, I'm gonna get out of here and let you guys battle out and try to do an undercut. So I'll switch the camera back over to Adams and Poe. Oh my goodness. Poe just super deep on the brakes. Almost a tap, but was able to avoid it. And that exit speed on the Porsche just sends it right through the back straight. But one thing to notice also, again, Dudley there, I mean, he might be struggling a little bit. He's previous lap times at almost a 37. So he's struggling a bit there for that P2. Maybe he has some issues with his tires. And Wagner has opened up almost a 6-second lead. So Wagner just focused, trying to get that win. My goodness, Poe. Let's go to a little bit of a ride along with. We're going to switch over to Poe and see what he's seeing at the moment here.
Just very nearly, and may have even made a tiny bit of contact with Adams there as he sent it down into turn 1.
Maybe that's part of his strategy. Let's try to scare him a little bit. And it looks like we have a drive-through. And who is that drive-through from? Let's go back on the field a little bit. I'll tell you guys in just a second. And it looks like Reynolds with a drive-through. So not sure if that was pit or maybe track cut. So very unfortunate. As we switch back over to that cockpit cam here on this battle for P5. My goodness, this battle for P5 has been going on, I think, the whole race. There's always somebody going on here at P5. When these drivers at the top pit, so if you just joined us, I'm just letting you all know, the little number 1s next to their standings, they have not yet pit. And I'll tell you, a lot of these drivers were battling together on track. So when all these become green, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because there was a huge train going on. It's going to be a very interesting end of this race. Ooh, looks like
it can definitely be a little bit of a challenge, especially as a McLaren driver, to pass some of these Porsches, because they get hooked up off after the apex. They just get hooked up so well. You try to maximize as good as you can and get the jump on the straight, but they have just such good initial acceleration that it's really hard to make the move there. So you see what Poe's doing for most of this race is just absolutely sending it in as deep as possible to try to maximize up until the apex, and then you usually see the Porsche get an advantage as he gets his nose to the inside, doesn't quite get it there, thinks better of it and backs out. That's probably a smart move there. You don't want to get the front aero damaged. Especially here where it's pretty fast, but that was that was entertaining, but definitely proving the point there too. He really likes to send it in deep, but the way you're driving the Porsche is you're not sending it quite as deep. You're braking just a little bit earlier than everyone else, but just getting that massive launch off, which is what the Porsche is so good at. You focus on maximizing that apex off speed rather than getting all you can up until the apex, like you see Poe doing in his McLaren there. And it's just when the two come together, it can be very hard to find a way to overcome the strengths of the other car, especially with a car like the Porsche that just gets such a massive launch, as we see again there off the corner.
Yep. I mean, I don't think my finger would have fit between those two earlier on sector 1. It was so close. I almost had a mini heart attack there. And again, Poe just want to deal with this on the track, and I don't know, might be costing something that goes deep. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he might have to change it up. I know that's what he's good at, but it just doesn't seem to work out because he has to stay on the brakes so long that he doesn't get the opportunity to get the car pointed, get the nose pointed, because he's using all of his grip in the front tires to get the car slowed to avoid running into Adams there. You see right there again, he has to stay on the brakes so long to stay off of him to keep from making contact that he doesn't get a chance to use that grip to get the front end pointed, and it ends up costing him on the exit of the corner.
I mean, Adams just a class in defending, though. You got to give that to him. He is just making his Porsche as wide as the track and not giving any room for Poe. So Poe, who was dealing with Sadat earlier, now behind Adams, He's just running into these drivers who are just defending for their lives, let's say here. And one reminder, just again, Adams is a D4 silver driver, so he's got quite a big lead over Katavkar, provisionary P11 there for silver. But yeah, he's just almost on a, for D4 silvers, he's like on a class on his own at the moment.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing to point out, because we haven't really seen him up here yet this season, not too frequently, and to see him up here competing with these gold drivers and doing an amazing job defending against Poe so far is really neat to see. You love to see new faces up here, and just seeing them show their talent and what they can do. There's a lot of talented drivers in here. It just might not be their week, you know, some weeks, and then you end up seeing them up here and being able to talk about somebody new is really refreshing.
Yeah, and Adams, again, it's not how you start, how you finish the season. He had a pretty good race last week at Nürburgring, and he's bringing his Porsche up there towards the top again. As we're just about 13 minutes left in this race. Pit window open for another 12 minutes or so. So these drivers up top will soon get their cars in the pit, and we'll see what happens. Quick update there, as Wagner, the leader, has opened up a 6.5-second lead over Dudley for P2. So Wagner, they're just on another league at the moment. It just, you know, benefited from a few incidents ahead of him, and just basically moving his way to the top. And it's not an easy field to get through, and he is just tearing it up. Yeah, let's switch to battle just a little bit while these folks are battling. Let's go over to Mr. Katavkar here. He is followed very close by Harold. Now, Katavkar has yet to pit, but he still can defend for a position. Now, Harold, again, trying to catch up on his McLaren. And just behind him, we have Sadat. And again, these have already pit. We talked about this earlier. Look at Sadat, Boomstra, Morrison, Hacksaw. And this has turned into a whole new train again, as it looks like, oh my goodness, super close. They're almost Boomstra, almost a little tap from Morrison, but she keeps it together. She's putting her Porsche so up close there and gets a little bit loose. That might give Morrison a room to attack. Next turn will benefit Boomstra, but Morrison might be late on the brakes, as he is. But so is Boomstra, and a little tap between the two. Oh my goodness, look at these. Oh my god. Oh boy, that was not looking good. It looks like Morrison tapped, Boomstra got loose, and which tapped into Hacksaw. He got sent wide. But it looks like he's back on track. It looks like no major damage, so just a little bit of a bargy going on there between them, but looks like everything is okay for the drivers.
I mean, who doesn't like a little pinball?
Gladly, Morrison's able to keep his his McLaren on, you know, at least on the track for a little bit of a grass when lawn mowing a little bit, but he's back on it, so.
Yeah, and during this, I noticed Sadat actually ahead of Boomstra again. I remember before they came in for pits, I believe Selena had passed him, and looking at the pit times, looks like Selena had 9 seconds and Sadat had 6, so it might have been a leapfrog there in the pits.
Yeah, it cost her that position, and she's got to deal with Hacksaw. Again, Hacksaw had been following Boomstra for a while, and there she is again, so... And this is the closest train you would see on track. Let's go to a heli view. Interestingly enough, Misano's TV cameras are so up close, sometimes you can't see all the drivers. Seems like the heli cam might be a little bit of a choice, especially on close battles going on. The camera angles are not the best ones we see, but... And Hacksaw just about, from the looks of it, looks like... Oh, excuse me, Morrison, 2.5 seconds back. So you can see his McLaren there coming off from the back. Now he might be under attack by Cockcroft and Rodriguez, who have already pit, so. And let's go ahead and take a little bit of a ride along with Sadat's wing cam and see what he is seeing once again. And look at that. Look at that Porsche line just out of the hairpin. switch over between these two drivers. Let's take a look at a replay and see what happened. It looks like Payan went off track, and looks like there was a little bit of a contact between the Lambo and the Audi. Looks like Grover went super deep on the brakes, but looks like they're all back on track. Looks like no major issues between the two, just a little bit of a little too late on the brakes there for Grover, but back on track he goes. He did start from the pits, so remember, he's actually already taken care of his pit, and he's currently in P21.
Yeah, now we see Gary Otero was on the attack for a second there. Big wiggle out of the BMW there and wasn't quite able to capitalize. And now it's going to go right back to a battle between Aiden Grover and Felix Payan again.
And on the main feed, by the way, Boonstra was overtaken by Hacksaw on another battle against. We're trying to keep up with all these battles. Who is now on attack on Sadat. And Boonstra trying to get on the inside of Hacksaw on the back straight. And my goodness, and Morrison right back on the mix there. He's coming through, but look at that exit speed out of the turn from that Porsche. There's nothing.
Side by side, she's going to have the advantage here in the next turn.
There's nothing you can do about that at this level, and Hacksaw might be backing down again. Yep.
Smart move there, then try to make it side by side. You don't know if the driver behind is going to put, or the driver next to you is going to push wide or not, so definitely a smart move there. I mean, big picture driving, we'll call it, because definitely want to preserve those points. Don't want to end up off track in the wall and then end up with a 25th place finish instead of a top 10.
Adams in the pit, by the way, so he's taking care of that. We'll see where he comes out.
And we saw that big issue with Morrison being a pinball earlier, but he's right back in the picture now.
Yes, like I said, this battle for these basically P10 at the moment is just kind of all over the place. And Adams out of the pits, by the way, P8. So right behind Sweeney, who has already taken his pit strategy. He's already gotten his pit out of the way. Sweeney, 11 position gain, by the way. And I know Jess has not yet pit, but he's 27 positions up. Just to give you guys on that, again, based on what happened on lap 1. So, oof. A bit of a tap between Boonstra and Sadat again.
You know what we need? We need one of these folks without a livery yet. We need a Joker livery in here to
fight
to
Morrison.
Counter Matt Morrison's Batmobile here. Do we call him Matt the Bat now or what?
I'm gonna switch this over really quickly, folks. Dudley is in the pits. He's currently at P4 after his Berg has cleared that, so you can see that Dudley coming right off. It looks like he'll be slotting himself there at P4 provisionary. We have Poe and Wagner there at the top, and let you guys know. So we're gonna have to switch this back over to this battle for P10, as this is just, again, I mentioned earlier, as these drivers starting to kind of get their pits out of the way. He was going to be an interesting end of this race, as Boone's just trying to go on the outside and might have the move. And Sadat with a better grip on exit, but the Porsche, oh my goodness, look at Morrison making a move on Hacksaw on the outside, and Cockcroft just coming through as well. Oh man, I'm going to do helicam on this. I can barely see what's happening on this whole thing. Oh! A tap between Hacksaw and Morrison. Morrison is going to come in. Oh my goodness! He just went straight in between.
What on earth?
What just happened?
That was insane.
Oh my God! And let's take a look and see what happened, folks. Oh man!
Surely that was a disconnect. I don't see any other possible reason for that.
I think he just tried to get himself in between and just tapped Cockcroft, which tapped Rodriguez. Oh man! And he looks like he is the one that got the worst of it. Oh man! You hate to see that happen again. We knew this was going to be quite the move there towards the end, and it was just basically looks like a nudge from there. And looks like Wagner, what's going on with Wagner? 8-second pit, currently in P3, and we're gonna keep an eye here where he comes out. Looks like he's gonna be coming out directly, and he's in P3. Looks like, and so Berg P2, and Poe has yet not pitted in P1. So Berg again has benefited from that early pit. So a good 6-second lead over Wagner for that P2. Once Poe pits, and Dudley in P3. Once everything is worked out.
That might be a good thing for Berg to pit when he did, because he had no traffic to deal with. and had clean air early to just focus on maximizing everything he could, other than his one little battle with Big Daddy trying to get around him for a couple laps there, but that didn't hold him up for too long. As we see, he's definitely putting down some good times now, and like you said, 6-second lead, that's pretty good. We'll see if Wagner could do anything with it, but Wagner's pace has been falling off just a little bit, so we'll see if he's got anything for Berg toward the end here.
He might take a lap or two to get his tires up and running. It looks like Hacksaw making a move on the inside for Boomstra there. So these folks have been trading positions every lap. And it looks like he's going to try to switch on the inside. Rodriguez is just watching it from the back. So, oh my goodness. Let's do a little ride along here with Boomstra. She's now followed by Rodriguez. And you can see this is getting really interesting.
Yeah, and that wreck earlier just mentioned kind of a heartbreaking day. We had Cockcroft got taken absolutely murdered in that. That was really disheartening because he had such a good day, did everything right so far, and just hate to see that for Pat. But
and I don't think he even expected it to happen. It's almost like this
just blindsided.
This black McLaren just swept across and just said, "What happened?"
Oh, the superhero car became the super villain car there for a bit.
And Boomstra back on the took the position back from Hacksaw as Hacksaw went wide. Oh my God, that gives Sadat some breathing room. Oh man. And then Rodriguez just kind of keeping a close eye there and see what happens between these guys. So my goodness, let's switch this over.
Good shout for Rodriguez too. Rodriguez with the big comeback he had trouble early in the early laps of the race. He's mounted his comeback, came all the way back to 13th so far, with potential to get top 10 if he can pass this train of cars.
Let's take a ride with Hacksaw for a bit. He is under pressure from Rodriguez. And again, they're kind of merging in again with Sadat leading this whole group. 2 minutes to go on the race, folks. 2 minutes. We should see Osborne and Poe. Poe is already in the pits. Berg has taken the official lead of the race, and Wagner with that P2. We should see Dudley with that P3. Once post-pit.
Mentioned Wagner's hit a couple laps ago. His stop was a little bit slower at 8 seconds compared to the 5 from Berg. So there was 3 seconds difference right there. So and he's only 4.6, 4.7 behind, and he has been fastest the last couple laps. So if he had maximized that pit stop and nailed that 5-second stop, we could see a battle for the lead right now.
Yeah, maybe a pit stall miss of some sort. You know, that can happen. We all know how ACC treats the pits. But yeah, so far Berg with that lead, and he has basically. Let's switch this over as we go and see Gino.
Now, Gino.
Oh my goodness.
Going for podium. Or not quite podium, 4th place.
And by the way, and I need to bring this up again, we're talking about biggest gains on the race so far. If we were to take everything in consideration, that with basically 45 seconds left in the race, Sweeney has moved up 12 spots. He started P18, and we talked about consistency and being up top. He's in P6. So what a drive from him. And is actually following Poe and Gino very close. He's maybe attempting a P4 here. That would be an absolute monster race from him. And again, about 2 laps to go, folks. 2 laps.
Yeah, so Sweeney's going to make it interesting here. Poe was on the attack, but now he's becoming the
full defense.
The victim. Yeah, gonna have to go defensive. I don't know if he knows what defensive is, honestly. The way we've seen him drive the whole race, he's just full attack all the time, and it's really entertaining to watch.
He's just trying to get around, and he's making a few bait moves, and that might cost him the position as they go into the last lap.
So it does. As he has to send it in there, sends it in there hard, and has to brake harder to stay off. As we see him go to the inside at turn 1, we'll see if this works out. He's able to stay alongside for turn 2. But Gino's going to have the advantage here. He's going to lose that advantage. Gino couldn't quite complete the pass there, so this advantage back.
Sweeney deep on
Poe,
the
and
brakes.
Sweeney's going to follow Poe right through. Going to nudge Gino just a little bit wide. Gino's going to lose 2, and Sweeney's going to go on the attack for Poe.
I don't think Gino was expecting 2 cars to come through on that sector, so now Poe under attack from Sweeney. This is some unbelievable battles going on here towards the end.
Hey, you can always expect the man from Vegas to make big moves. And that he did. He followed Poe right through there. He said, "This is my shot. It's the last lap. We're sending it."
And he did, and wow, it's been an absolute crazy end of the race here. We're going to switch over to battle for, again, Sadat, Hacksaw, and Boomstress. This is going to go down to the last lap as Andrew Berg takes the win here at Misano. So great race from his first win. Wagner puts in that P2. What a drive from him. Dudley puts in that P3 as he's coming across at the moment. And it looks like Poe is going to hold on to that P4. Let's switch this over really quick. And as they go through the last sector 3, looks like Sweeney backed off a little bit. And following closed. Oh my
Pretty
goodness.
decent gap there as we saw. Boonstra goes wide, made a diving move on Hacksaw.
But
They're going to be
Hacksaw-
side by side coming off the corner here.
Oh man, this is going to get really spicy at the end.
Come through the
Hacksaw-
final corner. Oh, not quite enough out of
Hacksaw's gonna
Boonstra.
take it.
Just a little too much. Unless he goes wide here, but nope, it looks like he's got it. There was a couple big crossover moves. She kind of sent it in for a slide job in front of him, and then he cut back under. That was a really entertaining finish.
Wow. And Morrison moved up again, P14, after that whole ordeal, crossing the line. Last few drivers coming through the line. LaFlamme coming through, P17, Q-Master. And then we have Grover still out there on track. I don't know. I think we didn't see anything. This whole race, there was something going on. It was so hard to keep up. I hope you guys watching, enjoy what we put through for you guys so far. I mean, that was unbelievable. Hard to keep up. Hard to keep up. As Grover crosses the line, and that brings the end to our Misano session here. So Andrew Berg with that win. Wagner P2 moves up, running basically 9 spots all the way through. And Dudley, again, put a heck of a battle there, puts in Scar in P3 still. And let's go ahead and switch over. We're going to try to bring you some folks here. Let's try to bring our race winner, Andrew Berg, for an interview here on our booth. So give us just a few seconds while we get things rolling. Here we go. As we're getting the folks there, started joining their chat, and we want to make sure you get some interviews and just to kind of get an idea. And we want to bring Berg in here and see how his race went. Give us just a few seconds here as we are going to be pulling them in. Let's see here. So before we bring Andy, we have Wagner P2 again. He's probably extending his lead on the championship. Let's bring him over for a quick interview and find out how his battle with Dudley went. And want to see his take on it. So give us just a second here. We're going to bring him over, and here we go. All right, Nick Wagner, do you hear us at the booth?
Sure do.
Well, we have to bring you in like every time here. You just absolutely unbelievable drives the last few rounds you've been here racing. Talk to us a little bit. How did your qualifying go compared to your race? How did that go?
Yeah, my qualifying wasn't as good as it's been like at the practice race and stuff last night. For some reason, I don't know. It just didn't feel right tonight. But as soon as I got into the race, the car felt amazing. I was really aggressive on some moves, just trying to move up some positions since I started decently back in the field. But made it to P3 or something with a couple mishaps in front of me, and just saw Dudley and Berg going at it. So I was pushing to catch them, and then Berg disappeared. I almost thought he DC'd until I came out of the pits and I saw he was ahead of me.
We were following through because you were just collecting victims left and right, and I know there were some incidents ahead. So we were wondering, like, he's just avoiding them all, and he's going around them. All of a sudden, you're in P3. I know Big Daddy ahead of you had an incident with Max Void Seam, so you passed those folks. And then all of a sudden, you're 4 seconds behind him. And yeah, like you mentioned, Berg went to the pits, and then you caught up to Dudley. And then he looks like he went wide on the back straight, and you just took advantage of it. And you said, "Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage." But then it looks like your pit was a little bit slower than you would want it to be. It looks like it was an 8-second pit. Was there maybe repairs, or was it maybe just usual ACC pit things?
No, I went a little too deep into my pit, so I had to get pushed back and then start my pit. So that's what hurt me there.
Gotcha. Still, I mean, P2, obviously you're extending the lead on the championship. I mean, still a heck of a finish. But other than that, Adam, do you have anything for Nick here at the booth?
Yeah, just great race overall. It's good seeing you putting on some fast laps, and looks like the fastest lap of the race, I believe. You could definitely tell you were in your comfort zone there through most of the race. Just one little thing as far as the pit, and I think it would have been quite interesting because that 3-second difference would have put you about 0.4 behind Andy at the end there. So that'll be interesting to see. And I know you work on improving every time, and it's just great to see CTHR, both teams out there performing today.
Heck yeah, 1-2.
Awesome, man. I'll send you back to the D3, D4 chat. I don't want to take too much of your time, but congrats again.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty, so we got him over. Let's bring in, looks like our race winner is available for a chat. His first win here at SRA. Let's bring him over. He did say he spent, 200 plus laps practicing here in Misano. Looks like that came to, well, as a winner. So let's bring him over here. Give it a second. All right, let's bring in our race winner here at the booth.
Andy, how you doing, sir? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Well, someone is happy out here. Well,
That's all of
guys,
us.
I am thrilled. I am thrilled, man. I sweated hard for this one. I put in probably close to 200 laps, probably actually over. Oh my goodness, I got a 33.7, which is a great time. Dudley, he put up a fantastic time. He was not that fast yesterday. And then I felt we were fast. We were both really fast. I was trying to push him. I was trying to count track cuts. He had 2. And then I saw traffic. I pitted, and I don't know where he came out. And then Nick, he was fast too, but oh, this feels so good.
Well, I gotta
It
say,
feels so good.
it's a long time coming, based on everything that happens to you in races, and you finally got one through. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only is this your first win, is this your first podium overall as well?
This is my
For
first
SRA?
podium in SRA. That is correct.
Nice.
I've
That's
podiumed
awesome.
in other races. I have a class win, but this is my first overall win. And I don't know if I want to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. The last
best
time I
kind?
raced in an SRA league, I was lapped every single race except one. And here I am, and I got a W.
There you go. I mean, like I said, you mentioned you put 200 plus laps, and we talk about having that practice, and you set the tone right off the bat. Like lap 2 in qualifying, you're already way up there, and there was, I believe, Dudley held the pole for maybe half a second, and you came right through behind him and took it back. And we were talking about on the booth how it's like P1 here in Misano isn't the best of a racing line for you to get things started, as we saw there yesterday again on the practice race. But then you kept it pretty close there together again, as you, once you came out of the pits and everything was said and done. Dudley made a little mistake there that cost him some seconds, and then Nick had a little bit of a longer pit that you did, and that basically gave you that lead, and he came out about 6 seconds or so behind you. So but yeah, I mean, you're on the league, man. I mean, that was a heck of a race. Practice, put in the work. Misano, congrats again. That's gonna get you major bonus points there for the standings. Your teammate finished not too far back, by the way. He moved up, I believe, it was 12 spots we counted, if not more. So,
Wow.
Adam,
Yeah, I'm still taking it in, guys.
take
Oh,
it in.
man.
We won't to make too much of your time. You can go celebrate this one. But Adam,
And
anything
I
else?
have to say, looking at the points right now, it's looking like THR Boot is leading with 702 points over second place, which has 548, and that's Comic Racing with
That's Selena and
Boostra
Osborne.
and
Yes.
Osborne.
yes, and Osborne. Thank you. But huge lead so far in the team standings. I mean, that's going to put you right in contention for drivers standings too. And I have to thank you because this has given me 100% win rate on this livery so far.
There you go.
It worked. No
One for
complaints. It
one.
looked great on the track, and I hope it looked great on the stream.
Yep, certainly did. All right, Andy, appreciate you tuning in. I'll put you back on the D3 to 4 race chat. And again, congrats on that win, man. Killer.
Raf, Adam, thank you guys so much.
You got it, man. Absolutely. Alrighty, man. Well, we now saw Mr. Berg there with his win, and let's bring in Dudley here really quickly because that battle with P3. Again, he was hovering there with the lead. Let's see what he's got to say. He had a much better race, and I always saw what happened in preview a couple of races before. 2 races at Donington. He had a drive-throughs and all, but he's coming back strong. So let's bring him over and see what he's got to go here. And a little bit of battle going on between himself and Andy, and then as well with Nick. So let's bring him over here. Alrighty, let's bring him over. Dudley, you hear us at the booth. Don't want to scare you.
Loud and clear, fellas.
Hey, man. Well, hey, got to bring you in to get a little interview going on, man. You had a heck of a race there, man. I mean, P3 still there up top as usual. You keep things consistent there at the top. Talk to us a little bit how did that qualifying and the start kind of went with us there with you guys, yourself and Andy.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing me in, guys. So the qualifying was a bit of a shock to me. That was, again, I don't know if the server settings are like, are you guys doing something cool with the server settings to make everybody get a PB in the qualies or what? Because, man, like, once again, I think I was close to a half-second PB right there for that qualifying lap.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew, like, going into the race, I knew I was kind of punching above my weight class. And I don't really know at the beginning if I went out too hard or what. I knew my race setup wasn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually surprised that I got out in front at the start like that. But obviously couldn't hold on to it. And I knew that. I knew my setup kind of fell apart after halfway through the race, and that's exactly what happened. And I just couldn't keep up the cornering speed, grained the front tires, and just really couldn't push harder after that. Got some track cuts too, so I was making sure. There was a couple times I scared the crap out of myself thinking I was going to get that last one that I was going to get a penalty for. So, yeah.
Misano things. You're like, oh, I got to be careful in this turn now. Oh, crap.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, I think Berg had a great strategy. As soon as we hit traffic, he dove for the pits. So I don't know where he came out, but probably didn't get slowed down as much as I did. Plus, he was catching me right there anyway. So I think he had a great strategy, and he obviously deserves a win. So.
Yeah, well, as far as that goes, so yeah, we brought him in for an interview. He said he saw traffic. He got right in, and he actually, again, sometimes things go weird way, but he came out in pretty clear traffic up until he got to around where Big Daddy was. He got a little held up back there, but not enough to slow him down that much. And then I saw you, basically Wagner started coming up behind you, and then you guys started another battle going on, and then we caught you went a little too wide there on the back straight, maybe you brakes or not, and then he took advantage of it. But again, I mean, you still had a heck of a race. I mean, you gained a heck of amount of points based on the results. So next week we have Alton Park and the Wets. How ready are you for that?
Yeah, I'm excited about a wet race. I think that's gonna be a ton of fun. I think it's gonna be shake things up a little bit from just having great sunny weather all the time.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what happens. This is, again, I mean, going into this race, I just learned this track this week. Alton Park, I've done maybe one race on. So a lot of these tracks, the same with Coda. Like that was I learned that track in 1 week. So I'm excited to see what happens. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
Alton. Go for it, Adam.
Go ahead.
No, go for it. I was just thinking about Alton.
No, I was just going to comment. I heard from a couple other McLaren drivers. I know that there's kind of been a streak here of really McLaren strong tracks, and coming up here we might have a couple where the McLaren would struggle. So I'm just wondering what your take is on next week if it is wet. I think that might be a little bit more of an equalizer where I think the McLaren could struggle next week if it's dry, but I think in the wet it might be a little bit of an equalizer that'll give you guys a chance for a better finish.
Yeah, I hope so, because like I said, I'm not too familiar with the track. I think I ran one competition server race there one time, and That was just right after I got the track, and so yeah, it should just, like I said, make things exciting. If nothing else, hopefully make for some good streaming content and some good viewership. So
We can't
We're all
wait.
for it. Yeah.
We're gonna hopefully, not incidents wise, but of course, it should be fun to broadcast that race. Alton Park again, not the you consider not the flattest track on earth. So yeah, and then with the curbs that you normally take advantage of with other cars, doesn't necessarily benefit the McLaren. But again, it's rainy, so everybody tends to avoid the curbs. So it might come to our benefit. So you see, I'm a McLaren
yeah.
driver myself, so but
So while you're learning the track, probably focus on learning the wet line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Stay off the curbs and keep it out in the middle. Yeah, like I said, it was a great race today.